I'd like to touch on the study on the 7 countries, on the conclusion that compulsory license did not have any significant effect on coverage. Because that may be true because of the way you address the issue. But when you look at the data that's there, for example, Thailand issued compulsory license for 7 products. Some of them were ARV. I think 3 of them were for ARV, 2 or 3 of them. And Thailand has data that shows that prices reduced from 66 to 97%. In the case of Brazil, the compulsory licensing of variants, in the first year, first 12 months, Brazil reduced what was the expenditure with the variants, $30 million. And with that, just 1 year, and with the expectation until the expiration of the license, of the patent in 2012, that it would reduce more than $200 million. And that impacts access. There's no way it doesn't. Because that year we were able to introduce a new drug because we had reduced the overall cost with the variants. We bought a generic drug and then we started manufacturing in Brazil. And that's what we call increased efficiency. Right? You increase the efficiency because you paid less, and then you could expand. I always said in Brazil, we're not like economizing, reducing costs per se, but because we have a long-term, Brazil and Botswana, for example, we have long-term treatment programs, and you're putting 30,000 people every year in treatment, and you need to sustain that without pressuring so much on the health budget. And just to put this, and we had the same impact Brazil had on the tenofovir price during the process that led to the non-granting of the license. I think tenofovir price bought from Gilead was reduced like 50 or 60%. So that goes into what you're saying on the negotiations and so on. And just out of curiosity, or to put into perspective, we have the 7 countries, only 2 made use of compulsory license and 1 on paragraph 6, but overall we had 60 countries that made use globally of the TRIPS flexibility. 17 countries use compulsory licensing, and other countries use paragraph 7, only 1 use paragraph 6 because it's very difficult to apply it anyway. Another issue that I wanted to touch, and I'd like you to, if you could, clarify a bit, because the income classification varies according to years. Like Brazil turning to an upper middle income country, I think in 2009 or 10. Thailand, August now is an upper middle income. So it's very, I don't know about Mexico, but it's something that moves. And throughout the report, you end up not seeing that. It seems like Brazil or Mexico were upper middle income countries since the beginning, and it's not true. That changed. And also, when you compare prices, there's lots of, I would say many publications, I've seen at least 3 or 4, that show that Mexico and Brazil, if you compare Mexico and Brazil, upper middle income countries, concentrated epidemics. There are huge price differences comparing the 2 countries. And I'd like to know if you found anything to corroborate, because what's out there is that the free trade agreement that Mexico has with NAFTA, with the U.S. affects the prices. And we had many discussions in Latin America around it. For one product, like, for example, Mexico pays 10 times more than Brazil, in average 4 or 5 times. And it's similar countries if you think about even health system and so on. On price of second-line drugs, I saw in your conclusion, I think the report includes both views, because in the report you say that IP protection is not a fundamental reason for high prices in upper middle income. and that generic prices, and that you have to take into account size of the market and that the complexity of making the drug and so on. But on the conclusion, you say that its IP affects prices in middle income. So I'd like to have, it would be interesting to have some clarification on that. When you state in the report something that UNAIDS is trying to do, and I think it's very interesting, that by increasing demand for second-line drugs, you create incentives for increasing generic entry into the market, that impacts downward on prices, and I think Brenda can touch on that. But it's something that UNAIDS has been working a lot. Right? And to conclude, I think just some minor things that we were talking about, let's say, a long time dealing with AIDS for the next years, and it's certainly we need a major shift on how we view investments, how they are made, including innovations in drugs, diagnostics, and vaccines. And for those of you who read, or if you haven't read yet, there's we published a paper in the Lancet, the Investment Framework, and it's cited on the report in many places, but it says that with the right investments, we could avert 12.2 million deaths by 2020, new infections actually, and 7.4 million deaths. So that's the time where you can take this and move ahead. And the conclusions of this study show that we have many challenges ahead, and that's true on how to make innovation and access, how to shorten the time between access to innovation and medicines getting to people in a way that can help save lives and so on. And I think in a way, some of the access programs that were described here are one of the ways ahead. But we would like to see a more, as UNAIDS, we'd like to see a more harmonized access principles that would include licensing principles, that could make life easier in understanding its dynamics and could make people understand more about, especially civil society organizations, on which, what are the drugs that can be available in which situations and so on. And that's very much related to equity, right? Innovation and access is related to equity. And then I think the report also touches nicely on the conclusions when you say that there is a huge inequity in some of the upper middle income countries. I'm saying globally, because that's, you see several of them. And you describe in the report the geographical inequities inside the country. So only dealing with income is not so good for equity. Lastly, let me say that we need innovation for developing countries because we have different health systems delivery, different epidemics. And as some of you are aware of, we are pushing towards a simplification agenda with treatment 2.0. So I think this is a great challenge for all of us and a great time, great opportunity for the pharmaceutical industry, because we have to for the next, I'd say, 9 years, 2020, we have the opportunity to make a huge impact on the AIDS epidemic if we treat people with better drugs, and affordable costs, and that ultimately will help to decrease the number of new infections. So this report, I think, brings us possibly to many sessions to discuss different items, and I thank you very much for pulling it together. I think IS and the International Federation as well. Thank you.